Welcome to Tactical Foul, you guys. I am Kev, and over there is my friend Tigo. Tigo, how are you doing, man? That jersey looks great on you, dude. It looks great. I hate it. But it looks great on you. Happy for you.
I love the jersey, man. Again, nostalgia. This is the last year they made that jersey, and they did it with nostalgia for La Decima. This was the away jersey for the La Decima year. It was not this jersey, but it was an orange kit, and I really, really liked that one. And like a lot of people don't know, the home jersey this year is white and black. Why is it white and black? I don't know if you guys remember this, but when Ronaldo was introduced as a Real Madrid player, what color were the jerseys? White and black. They know how to pull on your nostalgia heartstrings. The good thing is that I'm not all that nostalgic for the first year of Ronaldo. I preferred the winning years with La Decima and all that stuff. Right. So I got the away jersey this year. I really, really like it. I'm very happy that they had it in long sleeve. Really, really comfortable.
We're all up to date now because I
got this year's kit,
and you got your Real Madrid, and so we're ready. We're ready to go, and we're ready to get into the nitty-gritty of this season because there's been so many transfers in so many areas, man. And I've been talking to you constantly because I mean, right now it's kind of boring because we're preseason football, and we're not seeing actual competitive games since the Euros, and so
and the Olympics don't count.
We're trying. No, the Olympics don't count. We're trying to bank off of like, oh, these transfer rumors, what the season's going to look like, who's going to do well, who's going to do bad. And so there's so much speculation, especially with teams.
And like the crazy part is with that is not even that there's this, dude, we did an episode last week talking about the Premier League and doing our predictions for the Premier League. And I thought it was going to be safe. 2 weeks before the Premier League, nope, not at all safe. Like at all. Because in that time, we've had signings from Liverpool, from West Ham, from Spurs. And these are all teams that we kind of talked about in last week's episode that said, hey, they still need to make moves for us to feel a little bit more comfortable with them. And they all made moves. So let's not waste any time. I want to talk about just really quickly because one of the things that I said in last week's episode, again, if you haven't watched it, go and watch it. But at the end of the episode, we did a prediction of what we think that the Premier League is going to look like. And I had Liverpool coming in second. And that was before they made the Zubimendi move. And now they've made the Zubimendi move. And, dude, it's really hard. I think that Slot, I'm a big fan of Arne Slot and what he's going to bring to Liverpool, the control, the style that he's going to play. He's kind of the opposite of what Klopp was doing, right? Which is just have the ball, score, attack, shoot.
You know what I think our Arne Slot is kind of like in between. He reminds me a lot of Tottenham's manager right now.
Postecoglou,
just because he seems like he's very strict. He's
100%.
Those players. He wants to play aggressive. He wants to play like attacking and just aggressive and strong-minded football. And it seems like he's going to be very hard on those players. So he'll be implementing his style.
And the thing too,
fairly quickly.
No, absolutely. And I think the thing too is that the players that are on Liverpool right now are really, really good for Arne Slot's style. And the biggest spot of contention, let's say it, for Liverpool was the 6. I know that they had McAllister playing there and they had Endo playing there. And I think that Zubimendi comes in, gives them support in that role, but instantly just gives them a legit 6. Come in, you can play him at the 6 and you don't have to worry about it. And it frees up some of your other midfielders in that defensive responsibility. Because he's going to essentially play kind of as a third ball-playing center back. So, like, I really love this signing because Liverpool were already one of the strongest teams on paper in the Premier League. And the addition of Slot is so important. You now add their biggest area of weakness. Arsenal, take notes. They've added to their biggest area of weakness, which was the 6. And they're not done. They're talking about bringing in a goalkeeper to already be the heir apparent to Alisson Becker because Alisson's not getting any younger. I still think, dude, what do you think? I've been speaking a lot about Zubimendi. Do you think it's the right move? Do you think it's a bad move? What do you think?
Zubimendi is a great move. I think Zubimendi is definitely something that Liverpool needed, and especially before they had Thiago, and Thiago injury prone, but he was actually really great for him if he would have stayed healthy. Anyway, but going into Liverpool, I think you mentioned something about Arsenal that I just kind of want to get into because they're about to sign. Um, um, who were we talking about? What's his
Mikel
name?
Merino?
Mikel Merino. They're about to sign Mikel Merino, and so though I still want to talk about Liverpool, I do feel like those are key signings. And yeah, when we talk about the six, is very important. Liverpool are going to play very aggressive, and they need that guy that's going to give them that control. And so I do feel that way. Now, we're looking at Liverpool. Let's look at Arsenal for a second here. What do you think about Mikel Merino? Because I actually think Mikel Merino's a great signing, and I think he could work as a six. But we talked about this earlier. He could also be an 8. He's in between an 8 and a 6. And him playing alongside Declan, I think Arteta might change up the way he plays because of that.
See, that's my thing. Is I like the Mikel Merino signing, and like we were saying, Liverpool and Arsenal seem to both be in on Zubimendi, but it ultimately seemed like Arsenal weren't. I haven't seen the urgency from Arsenal this transfer season that we saw in previous years, right? In previous years, they got the Declan Rice deal done early. They got they got their deals done really, really quickly, and Arsenal have been going out and spending a ton of money in recent years, like a ton of money. And this is the first year where they've kind of relaxed. Ever since Arteta got there, it's been 100+ million Euro signings year after year after year. You know, Ben White, Odegaard, Ramsdale, and then Gabriel Jesus, Fabio Vieira, Trossard, Jorginho. Then you keep going. Declan Rice, Kai Havertz last year, and they're spending a ton of money, and this year they only got Calafiori, and I'm not seeing the urgency from them. And it's just like Zubimendi would have been the perfect player. They need a 6, and while I like Mikel Merino feels like another Declan Rice, and I don't know if that's what they need. Declan Rice was brought in to be the 6. That's what he was brought in to be, right? Because the idea was that you could then theoretically play Kai Havertz as a 10, as a false 9, and play him more in the midfield. Declan Rice was going to be your 6. Odegaard was going to be your 8, and you could play a midfield trio kind of like that. Yeah. But then we found out throughout the season, that Declan Rice isn't really a 6. He's more of an 8. And when they moved him over to that left 8 spot, and they brought in Jorginho to play the DM spot, Declan Rice got a lot better, started implementing and playing with that team better.
Yeah.
And I think you need an upgrade on Jorginho. Mm-hmm. And while Mikel Merino is an upgrade on Jorginho, he's also not a 6. He falls into that same category as Rice.
That's where I disagree, because I do feel like maybe he's not but he can play as a 6.
Okay, totally. But for example,
but do you think, and we're talking about this with Barcelona too, because we were just talking about a double pivot. You don't think that Declan and Mikel Merino could play in a double pivot role?
Yes, they can. But then you're saying that Odegaard is going to play as a 10? That's where I don't like it. You're now putting
Odegaard I feel like Odegaard could play as a 10. That's what
Here's the thing.
For him.
Here's the thing that you're saying. You're saying there's a key word that you're saying in that sentence that I don't love, and that's can play. Here's an example. Bringing it back to let's say just Real Madrid, because we're not going to talk about them this episode, and I got to throw my boys in there somehow. You and I were literally talking about. They haven't
been active in the.
Well, they don't have to be, right?
Right, they don't.
But you and I were talking about this on the texting about this, where you were saying that Rodrigo should leave Real Madrid because he's playing out of position and he's playing at the right wing because he can play at the right wing. But your argument was he should play as a left wing. Right? He should go to a team that's his and his alone where he can play on the left wing because that's where he should play. He's a left winger. And because of Vinny, he's playing on the right for Real Madrid. The thing that you're doing with Arsenal by instituting Mikel Merino as a double pivot in 2 6s with Declan Rice is now you're taking a player who's better as an 8 in Mikel Merino, playing him as a 6. You're taking a player in Declan Rice who is better as an 8 and playing him as a 6, and you're taking a player in Odegaard who's better as an 8 and playing him as a 10.
Yes,
So you're playing players at positions that they can
The way
play, but not at their best spot.
The way Arsenal play now, yes, he plays as an 8, but he's given a lot of freedom as if he were a 10. So I feel like he's already kind of playing that role. Why not just give him that role?
Because of
He has a free role. He's an 8 on paper, but then he ends up having a very free role, and then they have a box to box, and then they have a
he is the box to box.
He's not the box to box.
He's running up and down.
No. This is how it was. This is how I think you're looking at it differently. I think Jorginho was the 6.
Yep.
Declan was the box to box 8. And then Odegaard was the free roaming 8. He was able to come into the middle and go through the wing. He had a free role.
But so did Declan Rice.
Down that midfield 8.
Here's the thing. So did Declan Rice. Declan was
Rice.
given freedom to go to the wing with Martinelli, and so that Martinelli could come inside and Declan would take the wing. They both played the box to box.
But he was playing more of outside, and this is a lot. He was playing outside of the box. He wasn't coming in, Declan.
No, of course not, because you can't send two midfielders into the box.
Whereas Odegaard can come in.
But of course, they're different 8s.
Right. But my point is, Declan doesn't have the freedom that Odegaard has in that position.
And he shouldn't. That's not the point. But what you're saying is, yes, that Odegaard does have the freedom.
The 10 role is already a freedom attacking role.
No, but there's a difference. You want Odegaard in. You want Odegaard carrying the ball forward. That's where he's going to shine. As a 10, he's not going to do that. As a 10, he's not going to be the guy, because that's now you're describing an 8, not a 10. A 10's not going to carry the ball forward. That's what an 8 does. That's what a 6 does. And here's the thing. You want Odegaard carrying the ball forward. This is the point that I'm trying to make, is by playing a double pivot. But that's when he's his best.
I don't feel that way. I feel like he could take that 10 role. You can have Declan carry the ball forward.
But then where does Kai Havertz play?
Kai Havertz can play. He can play a center forward.
But that's the point. Now you're putting a ton of players. You're moving and transitioning a ton of players to justify a Mikel Merino signing. He can play as a 9. He's better as a false 9, playing more like a 10 in partnership with Odegaard as an 8, so that Odegaard can carry the ball forward, so that they can get the wings and Trossard and Martinelli and Saka in.
I think we just have to see how this signing is justified. Because I do feel like Mikel Merino can play the 6.
Oh, of course. So can Declan Rice. That's just not their best spot. That's the point.
Right. How do we know? I mean, the thing is,
saw him last year.
I haven't seen a lot of Mikel Merino to say, oh, he can't like that, where his best positioning is. I do feel
it's just, if you look at his heat map. If you look at his heat map and stuff when he's playing, he likes to play further up the pitch than your traditional 6. When you look at he likes to play in spaces that aren't occupied by the 6. They're occupied by a left 8 or a right 8. That's the point. And so, I'm not saying that it's a bad signing. They should go and sign him. It would be great support for Declan Rice, and that's something that they need. Rice can't play all 50 or 60 games in a year. So when Rice doesn't play, you still have a really high-level player in Merino that can play in that role. The problem is I think you need to replace Jorginho, and I don't think Mikel Merino does that. And it still doesn't address the fact that they really need an out-and-out striker. Kai Havertz isn't an out-and-out striker, out-and-out finisher. He's more of a midfielder as a 10. That's where he feels more comfortable playing, and that's where you would want him. But again, It's just, this is the problem that I see with Arsenal. It's just they're just not addressing the key positions, and you need to go catch City. And it just doesn't seem like they're making the moves to do that. It seems like they feel comfortable being the first losers in the Premier League, and they're not making the moves that I think is going to get them to close the gap to City. And that's the point. Like, here's the thing. Transitioning onto a different team, again in the Premier League, that is going out and addressing the key area of need that they have. Spurs. Spurs have gone out and they're going and they're getting Solanke. And they're bringing him in. What was the biggest issue that Spurs had last year? It was the number 9 position. Because while I am a big fan of, Richarlison and what he brings, he's not a 20-goal scorer in the Premier League, and that's what you need out of your number 9. And he also has the injury history. And now that there are new reports that Tottenham are not interested in selling Richarlison, that they're going to keep him and Solanke there, that's great. That's more depth up top, so that when Solanke can't play all of the games, you can sub in a guy in Richarlison who's playing excellently. And now what does that do for Spurs?
I think this is going to add a lot of, I think the Mikel Merino signing, going back to it, is going to add more depth to Arsenal.
Of course.
But yeah, maybe it's not a complete, like, oh, he's going to definitely play the 6 role. Who knows? I think it'll give...
I just don't know if he breaks into the starting 11. That's the thing.
No,
if you're going to spend that money, does he take Jorginho's spot?
From what it looks like, it looks like he's just going to be an offload for Declan.
And that's my point. An offloaded player doesn't change the trajectory of the team by all that much. You know what I mean?
I think it just depends on how they're going to play and what exactly Arteta's looking to do with the team.
If they have freedom to play those two, like if they had the freedom to say like, hey, Declan's further up the pitch, he fills in that 8 role, Mikel, you stay back, you play the 9, the 6,
right.
and then vice versa.
That's the thing, is we need to see how
of
that's
course
going to play out first.
But it's just the prediction of how Arteta plays. It's very rigid and it's very structured. You're going to play your position how I tell you to play. So I doubt that those players are going to have that freedom. But, dude, there are a lot of signings in the Premier League that have happened.
Okay, wait. Let's talk about, you talked about Tottenham, and they've had a lot of great signings, and
Solanke, I'm really excited about Solanke because Solanke comes in, fixes the 9, moves Kulusevski back to the right wing, where he probably should be, which then moves Ben Johnson to the bench, which is where he probably should be, moves Heung-min Son back to the left wing, which is where he probably should be. Like, this is a thing where it's just like, it's putting play, because we were having to play Son as a striker, and while he did great at that.
I feel like Tottenham are doing... finally letting their coach, man, I keep forgetting how to spell his
Ange
name.
Postecoglou. Big Ange.
Postecoglou, Big Ange. They're letting him kind of handle these like signings, or they're letting his team kind of like get the signings that are gonna come to his team, and that's just the best, man. When you can have, like, when you can kind of line up with your sporting director, I think that's the most important thing for a team, and I feel like that's what's happening with Tottenham. So I'm very excited to see them.
Totally. And like the greatest thing is we talked about this last episode, which is Daniel Levy is letting it happen.
Yeah,
he's just moved out of the way.
He's always just trying to superstar his team, and it never works.
Yeah, and he's just getting out of the way, and you saw that last year, because if you look at, and then, because I know who you want to talk about, but before we get there, because you made a great point, is if you look at it last year, that is something that I totally agree with you, is so important, is allowing a manager to go out and get his guys, because in his first year as manager for Spurs, Big Ange spent 270 million euros, went out and got Brennan Johnson, went out and got James Maddison, went out and brought Pedro Porro, went out and brought in Mickey Devan, went out and brought Kulusevski, brought in Vicario. He saw the guys that he wanted and brought them all in and built his team, and it worked. That's the key. And now you're going into a second year of that system with more money to go and get those players. I love it.
I think Tottenham are a very exciting team for sure. What I worry about in Tottenham, I guess, is a lot of signings. I mean, and Ange is the guy to do it. Don't get me wrong, but that's the thing, when it's a lot of signings like that, and you're trying to get the team to adapt to players that never played together before, and so that gets a little tough. Now, I do want to get into a team that I like that I've been talking to you about the past couple days.
Non-stop.
I'm feeling it. I feel something about them that I'm like, okay, like this team's making moves,
I get it, dude.
and I'm gonna have to change my mind about them. I don't even remember where I had them last. I can't remember where I had them in the Premier League.
I'll tell you in a second.
Bracket. Yeah, look at it, because I can't even remember where I had them. But West Ham United,
You had them at 9th.
9th. Oh yeah, absolutely changing my mind on them because, wow, have they made some signings, man? Nicholas Fulkrug. I mean, Somerville. I mean, I know he's not a great player. He's up and coming, but like I feel like that's gonna fit into their system because he's fast and he's quick and he's strong. Him. They're about to sign Todibo, who's one of the best. He's in I think he's in Nice, but he actually used to play for Barca, and man, that center back, Barca really fumbled the bag with him, and they let him go to Nice, and at Nice he really proved himself as a center back.
And the
Making that
craziest
signing-
part with the Todibo signing is that him going to West Ham wasn't part of the plan. He was supposed to go to Juve, and then West Ham just came in out of nowhere and was just like, no, he's ours. And then he's like,
No.
yeah, bet, let's go.
You know why? I feel like he was convinced with their project because I feel like,
Bro, I get
for
it.
the first time ever, I see West Ham, and I've never seen this before on West Ham. West Ham are always just like they're okay with being that mid-table side. They're okay with just like
That's the
kinda
standard.
getting by, but they raised it this year. Like I think even just getting Lopetegui, and I'm not saying Lopetegui's an amazing manager or anything, but it's a step up from what they've had before. Getting him and then lining up these players to play the way that he wants to play, and they're also kind of letting him take that role of like, what players do you need, which positions, and he's doing it. And I think that West Ham are going to be a lot better than we thought they were. And I don't know how much they'll raise. I had them in 9th. I don't know where else they could be, but they're looking very promising, and I'm very excited to see these new signings come into play and how they're gonna do.
Here's the thing, right? That I'm super interested in is because I think you made a great point. Lopetegui has come in and he is totally revolutionizing the way that team is playing. Coming in, dude, he has changed defensively, top down, what that team is going to look like. Bringing in Max Kilman from Wolves, going out and getting Todibo and bringing him to be the center back, bringing in Guido Rodriguez to be the DM. These are such great moves because West Ham were tied for 3rd worst in goals conceded in open play last year in the Premier League. Tied for 3rd worst.
A player I'd like to talk about from West Ham is Kudus, because man, that guy has a lot of potential. I know he's not a great player or anything, but Mohamed Kudus he was really good for Ajax. He was one of their best players. Then he's had a kind of downfall at West Ham, so I'm excited to see if Julian can get the best out of him because he's a great player. Now, going into another situation that's iffy for West Ham is the Paqueta situation, because I don't know how that's playing out. I don't know if he's going to get banned, if he's going to play, what's going to happen there.
With the league starting, the ruling is he can play until he's banned or he can play until a ruling happens. He doesn't have to be left out. He can play, he can train, he can do all those things.
Crucial. I think
but that's a big piece because Paqueta plays such a big role for West Ham. And you now add a finisher in Fulkrug out of Dortmund, and let's not also forget that they brought in it's not just going out and getting Guido and Fulkrug and Kilman, who are older players. Kilman's only 27, but still older players. They also went out and brought in Somerville, who's 22, brought in Guilherme.
Somerville gives him pace, man.
Yes. And brought in pace and youth to the wings while getting rid of some of their more bloated contracts and some of their, older players that aren't going to play roles. This is the thing that I like. They had Calvin Phillips. They needed a Calvin Phillips because he went back to City. Cool. Guido Rodriguez. they're making such interesting moves that, like, dude, I think I need to agree with you. I also had them 9th in my table. I think I got to change it because they can make I am not the biggest Lopetegui fan.
Right.
With good reason.
With good reason.
With real good reason.
You had forgot they
it was so bad. I purged it.
You literally forgot about it, but it was so small of a time that he was there too.
It's so horribly wrong in such a short amount. It was bad, but that's besides the point. The point is that they've got a project going on there at West Ham, and the Hammers have something.
Can you admit though that he's a step up from the coaches they've had in the past?
Oh, he's better than Moyes.
Yeah,
Moyes was there last. He's better than Moyes.
Yeah. He's better than Moyes. So I don't know, man. I mean, it's a stretch to say, anything yet, but like West Ham are looking promising.
They can make noise. West Ham is a type of team that can. West Ham has always been a type of team that if you're in the top 3, you should beat them relatively easily. But if you're anywhere outside of that top 3, top 4, like they can beat you on any given day. West Ham, assuming that they can get Lopetegui's system down under Pat quickly and efficiently, they're a team that on any given day, I think they can beat any team in the Premier League not named Man City. Like, honestly.
Yeah.
One, because I don't think anybody can beat Man City. Just really, they shouldn't. If Man City doesn't drop the ball, they're not going to lose to a team not named Real Madrid. That's just a fact. But, like...
It's a funny thing, but it's true. It's true.
But, like, dude, I missed the Fulkrug signing. In terms of, like when that news cycle happened. That's so huge! Fulkrug is a clinical finisher.
Yes.
Like, that's just what he is. He's a goal scorer. That's it.
He's gonna do it, dude. I think, man, I don't know. It just depends. And hopefully they keep Paqueta, and nothing happens there, because that'll definitely be crucial if they lose him. But I like Mohamed Kudus, and I think Mohamed Kudus is gonna make noise this season if he can play well under Julian Lopetegui. Anyway,
moving out of the Premier League, right,
yeah.
and into La Liga, like a player that has just left the Premier League and gone to La Liga. But before we get into that, before we talk about the blockbuster move that a week ago I had zero faith was going to happen.
A blockbuster moves. Okay, because it's not.
No, but it's just one. It's just one blockbuster move. Right, they had. Okay, you're right. Blockbuster moves. But before we get into that, before we talk about Atletico Madrid dropping stacks on stacks on stacks,
stacks, bro, for sure.
Guys, if you don't know, we have an Instagram page and a Facebook page that we are posting on regularly. So if you want to become a part of the conversation and get to talk to us directly about anything that we're talking about, get in the comment section below the YouTube video. We check all that stuff. But more importantly, go and follow us on Instagram and like the page on Facebook. We are posting there regularly. I check it every day and I respond to every comment that is left. So if you want to have a conversation with any of us, so does Kevin, by the way. It's not just me. Kevin is also down there in the comments, and he is chit-chatting away. If you want to get to know us a little bit deeper and have a conversation with us, get on Instagram, get on Facebook. We're getting our X page up and running soon. Don't worry about it. All of the links to that are in the description, so go and hit the like button, go and hit the follow button, go and do all that stuff.
And give us some hot takes.
Yes.
We will comment.
Yes.
I want to hear the hot takes.
We want your hot takes, especially with the season dwindling down. But this is not a hot take. This is hot fire money spending. Yes. Atletico Madrid.
Woo.
What?
Excited to talk about La Liga. La Liga's my favorite.
Transfer season. What a transfer window for the club that I honestly hate more than any other club in the world.
I know you do.
My hatred for Atletico Madrid surpasses my hatred for Barcelona. Surpasses my hatred for... No, it does. It does. It truly does.
I actually don't hate Atletico all that much. Because
you don't have to.
Here's why, though. Because I know that if we're not competing against you guys, they will. Somehow they will. So I love them, dude. I love them.
I hate them with every fiber of my being, good sir. I hate Atletico Madrid, but I give credit where credit is due. And Atletico Madrid have done nothing but knock this transfer window out of the park, starting with Lenormand and Sorloth, which I already thought was a great transfer window. Already thought if they were done there, I thought that was great.
Yeah, that was great.
And then
they're buying it up, man. They're getting the best La Liga players
for real. Just,
They're
hey, oh, you play in
firing it up,
Spain and you
man.
can't make Madrid? Come here. We can afford you because Barca can't.
Yeah.
But not only did they go and get Sociedad's best player in Lenormand, their best player, but go and get Sociedad's player Lenormand, go to Villarreal and get the third, or is it fourth? Third highest goal scorer in La Liga in Sorloth. They then go out and drop fat stacks and bring in Julian Alvarez from Manchester City, and they don't even let the news cycle finish with the Julian Alvarez. Go out and secure a deal for Conor Gallagher. Yo, Atletico Madrid.
If they didn't have Diego Simeone though, man,
Oh, I hate him.
they would be making noise for sure. I worry though, because it's such great signings in such key areas, but man, Diego Simeone is just the way he plays just disappoints me.
No, it disappoints me too. Look, I hate Atletico Madrid so much because I hate Diego Simeone. Down to the every fiber of my being. I hate how he plays from the top of his hair to the small little bacteria on the bottom of his foot. I dislike the man. As a human, I dislike him. Like, I dislike Pep as a manager. As a human, I have no problems with him. Because I think he's actually a good guy. He's just ruining football by making it robotic. He's ruining the beautiful game. No, Diego Simeone sucks. Top down. Overall, I hate him. If you're an Atletico Madrid fan, I hate your team and I hate your manager. I'm looking right at you. They're the worst. But dude, this is what I wanted other teams in La Liga to do, is see, okay, no one's catching Real Madrid. That's cool. They can go win the league. That's awesome. But you know who's looking weak? You know who's not making moves? You know who's catchable? Barcelona. Let's go all in. Let's go do it. And that's exactly what Atletico Madrid is doing. New striker, new winger, new midfielder, new defenseman. Dude, they have addressed every area of that team with a massive upgrade, and they got younger. I love it. I love what Atletico did.
Whoa. Okay, Barcelona just bought Dani Olmo. All right, let's calm down. Okay, let's calm down. All right, Barcelona looked very good in their preseason. Okay, now I want to talk about Barcelona for a second. I know I don't want to get too in depth because I don't want to talk until I see their first 5 La Liga games, and then I can really. I feel like Barcelona, especially right now, because we have a new coach, and because we're kind of in the air about all these signings and all these, not even just signings, the player registration, all that kind of stuff. We're in the unknown. We could do good. We could do bad.
But that's the point. Being in the unknown before, because I don't want to go to Barcelona just yet, because I want to give Atletico their flowers.
Yeah, I mean, Atletico.
Because they've taken an opportunity, because Barcelona's not usually in the unknown. We know that Barca's going to end second or first. Relatively almost every year. They're either going to win or they're going to be the first losers. That's it. You can say the same thing about Real Madrid. They're either going to win or they're going to be the first losers. Atletico saw an opportunity and they capitalized on it. Lenormand is a great signing. Sorloth is adding 20 goals to their team that they didn't have last year. Dude, they got rid of Depay, who wasn't doing all of anything for them, and they replaced it with Sorloth, who was doing excellently for Villarreal. Was the only piece on Villarreal worth anything last year. And then on top of that, you add box to box, pace and youth in Conor Gallagher, and Julian Alvarez, 36 games for Man City, helped them win the Premier League pretty handedly.
Yes,
I know you want to talk about Barca, but this is huge for them.
But the thing is, I get it. I'm giving them their flowers, but we go back to the Diego Simeone.
Yeah, you can't get
the style, and you just can't get away from that. So yes, even though I love, and you know what? Let's talk about Atletico. Let's talk about this thing about Atletico because we didn't talk about it. Griezmann. might go to the MLS.
Yeah, he
We
might go to
don't know.
LA.
We don't know what's gonna happen. I don't want him to go. I think that with Griezmann, they're gonna be very lethal. But you're telling me that they could sell him and they'll be fine and this and that.
I think that's why you go and get Julian Alvarez. You get Julian Alvarez because he's what, 24, 25 years old? Griezmann is 33.
He's going to give you what Griezmann gives you, bro.
Yes, but Griezmann had to be the creativity and the goal scoring. Alvarez doesn't have to do that because they got Sorloth. Because they got
them like Griezmann does.
Dude, but here's the thing.
Who's going to create for them?
You don't have to have a creative player.
How can you say that, especially with this system that Diego Simeone plays? He needs somebody.
Totally. He needs to change. He needs to adapt. But last year they played a back five. Depay wasn't scoring.
The way he plays, bro.
No, but he can adapt. He hasn't always played a back five. Diego Simeone hasn't always been this defensive. When he had some of those better Atletico Madrid sides, they were exciting. Like when they were playing in the finals against Real Madrid, that was exciting levels of Atletico Madrid. They were better. They were still defensive, but they played more attacking. They played with more possession.
They were defensive, but they played a higher press.
But they also played on the counterattack. And again, now you're adding players that are a benefit to that. Gallagher with his stamina and ability to be box to box, like truly box to box. Julian Alvarez, who's great in that transition, in that counterattack. We see that constantly for Argentina. That's the role that he gets used in. And then Sorloth, who's just a clinical finisher and can just be the guy at the end of the pass who's going to put the ball in the back of the net. I have zero faith that Diego Simeone is actually going to take this Atletico Madrid team that has been built incredibly well and do something positive with it. The point is that the possibility is there. And I don't think the keeping Griezmann or losing Griezmann changes it. I'm not advocating for them selling him. I would understand if they're about to spend 160 million euros this transfer season.
Money, because damn, that's a lot of money they've spent just this season on signings. But when was the last time they spent the I'd have to look at their previous years.
I'll tell you in a second.
Because like I've never seen Atletico drop this much money on players.
The same thing. I've never seen them go and be this active, or at least be this active with this many big names.
I think they were saving up, or they were kind of taking a step back, and then now they're just like, you know what? Let's do it. Let's try to win this year. And you know what? Maybe they're capitalizing on Barcelona's just insecurity right now.
That's what I think like too.
They are banking on the fact that Barcelona might not do well.
So the last time they spent big money was in 2019-2020. They spent 240 million euros that year. They bought Joao Felix for 127 million euros. That hasn't aged well. They bought Kieran Trippier that year. They bought Marcus Llorente that year.
Marcus Llorente was a great signing.
That was a great signing for them. 30 million euros. That was a great signing. But that was and then the year before they spent 160. So it's been a couple of years since they've really gone in and spent it. But looking back at it, they've spent since then 92 million euros in 2021. Now, a lot of that was manufactured by the fact that they sold 83 million euros. But that they brought in Carrasco, and they brought Suarez. That was the year that they brought Suarez in, and Alvaro Morata, and then the next year they spent 87 million euros in bringing DePaul and bringing Griezmann back. And so, it's not that they're shy about spending money, but when they really go to spend money, they spend money. And, it's so interesting because, like what you were about to say, I think they're trying to capitalize on the fact that we don't know what Barca is, and they can try to take advantage of that. If you guys stumble out of the gates, let's say the first 5 to 10 games, that might be a big enough, and they don't. Right. That might be a big enough gap for them to just run away with it and get second. It's so interesting.
Well, I think now we should get into Barca.
Have to.
I feel we've talked enough about Atletico. Listen, man, the Dani Olmo signing, I like it. I have a feeling. I do think that Dani Olmo will do well because he's played at Barcelona before. He knows what it comes with. He knows what he needs to do. He knows the position that he, needs to sort of play in. But I do hate as a Barcelona fan just being in this like unknown, like we had a promising preseason, and there's a lot to go at play here. I'm very disappointed about the Nico Williams signing because I just feel like we needed a dynamic winger, and I feel like we could still get one. I feel like if Barcelona, I think they should just go for that Kingsley Koeman offer, and just take that loan on.
Wild. We'll talk about Bayern in a second, but that's wild that they're just like, hey, you want Coman?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind.
Shouldn't mind.
But yeah, but man, it does suck being in this like unknowing spot of like how are we gonna play, and though I liked what I saw in the preseason, man. I mean, we beat Madrid, which was great. I mean, even though Madrid didn't have a lot of their players, neither did we. Um, I like what I've seen so far from Barcelona, but yeah, just being in this unknown spot and knowing that Atletico are just dropping this money, it does concern me as a Barcelona fan. I am
It should.
concerned about okay, yeah, like, how are we going to play? What are we going to do? And what is Atletico? I'm very keen on Atletico because just knowing all this stuff, they signed all these players. I feel like, and I told you this earlier, those first 5 games, those are going to be very crucial to how our season's going to go. If we do really well, I feel like our season can go very, very good. If we don't, it's going to be a very up and down season for us. I don't know if we'll make the top 2. And that's assuming those 5 games don't go well. I don't know how well we'll do.
It's hard judging, obviously, because we don't know what Atletico is going to do because of the whole Diego Simeone thing, but also because we don't know what Barcelona is going to do.
Right, Barcelona,
and I mean like that.
The biggest unknown of everything.
And I don't just mean that
Xavi
in
was
unknown.
Still in there, I'd be like, oh no, they're going to do it. They might still get second. Xavi was still in there, and if a lot of things happen,
Yeah, and this is the first time you guys aren't playing a 4-3-3 in
we're gonna be playing
forever.
4-2-3-1. No.
Forever. And the craziest part is that, like, we have no idea where Olmo's going to play. We have no idea if Olmo's going to start. And, like, my thing is I was listening to The Athletic. They had a podcast talking about the Dani Olmo signing. And they had a reporter who's really plugged into the team. And he was talking about it. And he was like, the thing is that you could tell me, if you told me that they brought in Dani Olmo and you didn't tell me the amount that they played, and you said that Dani Olmo was on the bench for Barcelona, I would understand. Because he plays the 10, that's where he's more comfortable, but that's where you're probably going to play Gundogan. But then if you told me...
I don't know why you keep...
Because that's where he played all of last year, was as a 10. That's where he played all of last year.
Because we played a 4-3-3 last year.
So you can still have a 10 and a 4-3-3.
How?
He played...
You just told me you can't do that because Odegaard didn't do that.
No. That's not. I didn't say you can't do that. I said Odegaard didn't play as a 10. He played as an 8 because Kai Havertz played as a false 9.
And as in a 4-3-3.
What do you mean? You have two. You
You
guys didn't play with a DM last year.
We did. We had Christensen as a DM.
He played more as a center mid. Besides the point, Gundu played as a 10. If you look at his heat map for last year, he played centrally up in attacking positions. He was one of your best players and one of your best finishers all of last year. That's where he played, was as a 10. But if you were to then tell me that Olmo is going to start at the 10 and Gundo is going to play as a DM, I would hear that. Or if you told me that Olmo played at the left wing...
It's going to be 2 DM. It's going to be obviously.
It's a 4-2-3-1. We know what it's going to be. Let me finish my point. The point that I'm trying to make with Barca is that we have no idea what the starting 11 is going to look like. And like that's the thing that I think is so weird with this Dani Olmo signing. It's great that he has such positional flexibility. He can start at the left wing. He can start at the 10. He can start as a part of that double pivot. You can play him on the right wing. Like
play a very good left winger. I don't see him as.
I think that's where he's ultimately going to end up.
I don't feel that way. I feel
because you don't have Gavi Pedri to start.
We saw glimpses of this just in the last game. He played Rafinha as a left winger. He's gonna play Rafinha on the left wing. I guarantee you. he's gonna play Rafinha on the left wing. This last game he put him in there, and he wanted to see how he was gonna do, and he got an assist.
Yeah, it's the preseason. I think you're putting too much
I
things
get it. I
into
get
the
it.
preseason, but
But
also
like,
Olmo played left wing for Leipzig.
The preseason always gives you a glimpse of the way he wants to set up his team, and I feel like he's gonna have Rafinha as the left wing. I feel like he's gonna do this, and I can say this confidently as a Barcelona fan. He's gonna have a double pivot where he's gonna have plenty of players there. He's gonna have Gundo's gonna play there. I don't see Gundo going into the 10 role. I just don't see it. I don't know where you saw Gundo playing as a 10. I don't feel like he played as a more what I told you, kind of like what Odegaard does for Arsenal, where he's a little more of a free rolling 8. And then
Just look at his heat map. If you pull up his heat map, you'll see it. He plays as an attacking mid.
I watched my team all of last season. I know how my team plays. I don't need to watch his heat map. I saw him play.
But what you're saying is going against what he's playing.
He had a free roll as an 8, but like he wasn't box to box. He was given a free roll, so that's why I told you.
But that's not an 8 if you're not playing an 8 is a box to box.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. That's how Barcelona play this way, and that's why Arteta plays that way with Odegaard. And you need to look at if you talk about the heat map, you need to look at Odegaard's heat map.
Yeah, he plays more centrally. His heat map doesn't compare to Gundo's.
He plays like a 10. Look at it. It's only
Kai Havertz is playing as the false 9.
Look at Gundo and look at Odegaard's heat map. It's gonna be similar. It's just gonna be one on one side and one on the other side. It's the same thing. I'm telling you, I know this. I could tell you this confidently. Gundo doesn't play necessarily a 10. He plays
as an attacking mid. That is how Gundo played a majority of his year last year. If you look at his heat map, a majority of his time was spent in the opposing team's box, up by the penalty area, and in that area creating centrally. That's the point. This idea that he doesn't play in a central role is kind of crazy. And then to prove that point, that Odegaard had more freedom to attack 100%, and he played on the right side, the same side that Gundo plays on. They're both right-footed. No, Odegaard's left-footed, actually. I'm sorry. So he likes to cut in.
Very similar heat maps.
No, they don't, because Odegaard played way more in his own half defensively, and Arsenal weren't a team that conceded possession all that much. They wanted to control possession.
Wait. Look, there's a big difference. You're looking at the Euro heat map. Look at La Liga heat map. Look at La Liga heat map. Don't look at the Euro heat map. That's how he played for Germany, not for Barcelona.
Okay, no, yeah, you're totally right. But even with that, because they used him in a ton of different places. They used him as a DM, they used him as a center mid and as an attacking mid. But look at where a majority of that heat is in the attacking positions. That's where a majority of his space was. That's why I can feel confident in saying it. And it's not just my opinion talking about your team. Everything that I listen to says that the person right now who's probably going to play in that 10 role, if they had to guess at the beginning of the year, week 1, first game against, was it Villarreal? Sevilla? Who's your first game?
Valencia. That
the most likely candidate to play in that role is Gundogan, and that should be the case.
I guarantee you he's not going to. I guarantee you.
He might not because Gavi and Pedri are so hurt.
He's going to play as a DM with either Gavi, Frankie, or Pedri.
Aren't all of them hurt? Or any of them going to be ready for the beginning of the season? Gavi, Pedri, or...
Pedri, I think, will be ready. Gavi, I don't know. And Frankie, I don't know. But I think Pedri will be ready. So I think it'll be the starting lineup will be the regular 4 center backs, excluding Araujo because Araujo is injured. So it's going to be Koundé. He's probably going to use just Hector Fort or somebody on the right back, depending on whether we get Cancelo or not, because we don't know still if we're going to get Cancelo or not. Cancelo's kind of pushing the Barcelona move, but we can't afford him unless it's on loan. So it's going to be just a regular back four. It could be Inigo. Lenglet is starting to apparently from what I've read is Lenglet is starting to get that like role. He might actually stay with us. Lenglet. Clement Lenglet might stay with us. It'll be him or Inigo or even Kubarsi won't.
One of the marks is probably going to play next to Gundo, if we're being honest. But here's my point. Here's the thing that
it's going to be. No, what? Let me finish. So it's going to be 2 DMs.
Yeah.
The regular back line's kind of a mystery, but the 2 DMs, I'm pretty sure will be one of them will be Gundo. The other one depends on who's fit, and it could be one of the youngsters. For all we know, it could be Caicedo or it could be Marc Bernal. And then I think that on that 10, it's gonna be Dani Olmo.
Yeah.
And we're gonna have Rafinha.
Yep.
On the left, Yamal on the right. And Lewandowski as the striker.
Totally.
That's what I think that first starting lineup's going to be.
For sure. But that is including all of the injuries. Everybody gets healthy, that changes. That changes drastically.
Right.
Because Rafinha goes to the bench, Olmo goes to the left wing, Gundo goes to the 10, Frankie comes to the 6, and Pedri goes to the 6 to be a part of that double pivot. That's how they would play. Because Rafinha would be on the bench, and you're not going to put a 60 million euro player on the bench.
Okay, listen, I'll give you that. If in that first game Olmo doesn't do well as the 10, then they'll put Gundo as the 10 because 10, like he's a sure thing on the 10. But I think that Hansi's going to push to have him as a DM. I really do.
They should. No, they should. My thing is this, is that with a fully healthy team, do you still think that Olmo would play as the 10? And, like, who would be your left wing at that point?
A left wing is going
to... Fully healthy team.
It sucks, but it's going to have to be Rafinha.
And I don't think Hansi Flick wants that. I think Hansi Flick is smarter than that.
I think he does. I think he does. Whether you like it or not.
If that is the case, I am very worried about your mental health this upcoming season.
100%. That is what's going to happen. I guarantee. I can almost. I'm about 85 to 90% sure that Rafinha will take that left wing, and he did well for us on the left wing. The thing about Rafinha is he doesn't do well on the right wing because he wants to be like, super creative on the right wing, but he doesn't. And on the left wing, he's just very systematic. He's passing and you're moving because there's no other option because you can't do the things because he's left-footed. He wants to be on the right wing. He's going to want to do all these things, and he's not going to take the role over Yamal. And
of course
even
not.
if he's not good enough to be against Yamal, and we don't have another left winger. Dani Olmo, I just don't see him as a left wing. He doesn't normally play on the left wing. He plays very centrally. If he does play on the left wing, I could see him.
He did it for Leipzig last year. Quite a ton. Quite a lot.
Did he play left wing?
And right wing.
Let me look at his heat map because I've from everything I've watched, because I've done some research on the player.
He played a majority of his time as the 10.
Look at his heat map.
No.
He did play a few games as a left winger, but if you notice his
a majority of his games are as an attacking mid, but he also played on the left wing. He played a ton of games on the left wing.
He doesn't thrive on the wing.
I agree. He should be a 10.
I don't think he'll be on a left wing. I think that Hansi is pushing, and that's why on this last game against Milan, he had Rafinha on the left, and he did well. He did well.
It's just you guys are really crowded at the 10. That's my thing with this Olmo signing that I don't necessarily understand and why I'm not the biggest fan of it. Dude, right. You have so many players.
You know what I think the mistake is? I don't feel like we have an overcrowded of the 10 if Pedri didn't play there. But Pedri can play as a 10. That's what pisses me off about it. Because now what you're doing with Olmo is like you're going to have to push Pedri back to the DM role or to a double pivot role. Because then now you're going to have Pedri, Fermin, and Olmo. And all three of them aren't going to be able to take that position.
But that's the point. You have right now on your team, you have 4 players that can play that. You have 4 or 5 players, depending on if you think Gavi can play a 10. I think he should play as an 8. That's where he's better. But, like, you have 4 players. You have Gundo, Fermin, Pedri, and Olmo who can all play as a 10, and not all of them
That's
can
why
play
I'm
as a
telling-
10.
But that's why I'm telling you that Gundo isn't gonna play on the 10.
Okay, but okay, you drop Gundo to 6, and when Gavi's healthy, you put Gavi right next to him. Pedri's too good to be on the bench. So where does he start?
So that's the thing. It's gonna be. That's why he said that there's a lot of players in that position, because he's gonna use those two positions. And the thing that also worries me is Frankie. But I feel like that the 10.
There's
I
another
feel
one.
like- right. Well, the
This is why
10
this signing,
but
if
the-
you're
the-
looking him as at a 10,
This is
doesn't
why I
make
feel like-
sense.
I get it. I feel like Hansi's thought process in this is just like have these, because how many if we're looking at two positions, when we look at depth, we want to look at depth. When we talk about two positions, would you say it's fair to have 4 players play in those positions? Because you're gonna have
No.
no. But I'm saying, look at it. So for depth, right? If we're looking at a long-term season, we're looking at depth.
You
We have
need two
positions.
players. You need two
For
players
two
at every position.
positions- For 2 positions, you need 4 players, because you need 2 players at every position.
Yes.
So let's look at who's gonna be in the DM role. We have, and I'm just telling you how I'm seeing it, because I don't know. Essentially, we're in the unknown. But we're talking about Gundo, Frankie, Gavi, Pedri. Those are the 4 that are gonna take.
I don't
those
think Pedri plays at that 6.
right, but that's where I'm telling you, because of that 10, Danny Olmo coming in, he's gonna have to. But
But see, the point
then
is,
you'd have to sell Fermin. Fermin isn't a winger, man. He's not
exactly. But you know who can play as a winger? Olmo. That's the point. This is why if you look at this, this is why if you look at this signing through the lens of him being a 10, I don't get it. Like at all. Because that doesn't make sense to me to put him as a 10.
I think it's just gonna be depending on where he plays best or how he's gonna play the system.
I think it's not even about him.
I do feel like
It's about health.
I feel like he'll start him out as the 10, have Rafinha on the left, and if that doesn't go well, then he'll switch it off.
I think
And
the
then he'll
opposite. Let me say my
Pedri
bit
and
real
Fermin.
quick, because I think the opposite. I think he's going to start at the 10 because of the fact that Gavi, De Jong, and Pedri are all hurt. Right? And so you don't have enough players in that center midfield to fill those 3. And because you have the ability to play Rafinha on the left wing. You don't want him there, but you can. And so that's what you're going to do. Now, Gavi and De Jong come back. Now you can put Gavi as part of the double pivot. You can put De Jong as part of that double pivot. You can put Gundo at the 10, and then you can put Olmo at the left wing. Because now Rafinha goes to being a backup to that left wing and the right wing. And the best signing that you guys have done this summer, probably the best signing you guys have done, the best business that you've done in a couple of years, Pau Victor has showed that he can play across the front 3. He can play left wing, he can play right wing, and he can play centrally. This is where I get confused with the Olmo signing, is you didn't need a midfielder. You didn't need a 10. You needed a left winger.
I agree.
You needed a left winger or a 6.
The best thing that would have happened was we would have got Nico Williams.
Yeah.
That was the best thing that could have happened to us, and nothing. I don't know how Barcelona are still hopeful he's going to come. By this point, he should have already made his decision.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the decision is to stay at Atletico, and I don't know why we're still hoping on that. I would jump on that Koeman deal right now and bring Koeman in now and tell Nico Williams, hey, the train only comes around once, so this was your only opportunity and you blew it. Goodbye. And
But hey, don't forget us next year when we come and try to get you again. That's how it would be, and you
Probably.
know it.
It's probably gonna happen. It's probably gonna happen.
It's just I find it so interesting with that aspect of it, because of the fact that it's just Olmo to me
I agree.
feels like a signing of I do actually, but you get upset. and I don't want you to be upset, but it comes back to me
Hey,
continuing
that's
to
the whole
crap
point
on
of- That's the
Laporta.
whole point of the podcast.
But it comes back to me keeping to crapping on Laporta, which is just, this is a man desperate to look relevant, to look like his club isn't in financial ruin. Because Danny Olmo
We've
bringing
talked
him
about
back
We've talked
doesn't make sense
get it,
at
I get it.
all.
about it. No, 100%.
And it's not that he's a bad player, but you've got a player that has an injury history,
everybody-
plays a position
everybody-
that's crowded, and
Look.
doesn't address the biggest issue, which is your left wing. Like,
Listen, the Barcelona fans have to jump on this train right now because this is all we have for this season. I mean, this is just what we have. We have to
Yeah.
jump on the train. We have to be like, you know what? You know, this guy loves Barca enough. If hopefully he can make us competitive. But the thing is, if it pays off, great. If it doesn't pay off, then he's gonna be backed up into a corner. He's already backed up into a corner. So if it doesn't pay off, the elections are gonna be there soon.
it's next year.
Next year's gonna be the
In
election.
January, become a socio,
Yes.
get him
Listen.
fired.
Listen, like I said, he's under great turmoil because of all the moves he did, especially the Xavi one. And if this team doesn't deliver, he's gonna have to face the music. But right now, I mean, we just have to jump on this train. It just is what it is. Yeah, the Danny Olmo signing doesn't make sense. He's still, but I don't want to look at it like negatively. I want to look at it like he's still a good player.
You got to be excited.
Thrive, he can be thrive. If he can thrive, I know he's gonna do well. And again, those first 5 games, I want to see how this team's gonna play, and then I can kind of see into the future, or I can kind of predict how we're gonna be doing, what we're gonna be doing, and how we're gonna be doing it. So, I think that's pretty much covered everything about Barcelona right now. We're in the unknown. Yes, everybody said that the Dani Olmo signing didn't make sense, and we all agree. But he's still a good player, and he's still something to get excited about.
Totally. And the point
can
wasn't to
bring in
try to
info.
get you not excited about Olmo. Olmo's a great player. I argued for Olmo to start over Pedri from the beginning of the Euro.
It doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't.
It's
There's so
just-
many midfielders. And I agree, Gundo should play at the 10. I'm not saying he can't or shouldn't.
It's the same
way
thing.
It's looking for me, I don't think he's going to. I don't think.
No, I understand that. But the Olmo signing is the reverse of the Xavi Simons with PSG. Doesn't make sense why they don't want him.
Yeah.
Like, it's the same exact thing in reverse.
They're both Leipzig players.
Yeah, yeah.
They both were, I guess, now.
It's just super interesting. Before we wrap it up here, just a couple of teams that I think we can go through really, really quickly. Bayern Munich really giving Vincent Kompany a ton of leeway, going out and getting, I can't remember the Portuguese player name, Palhinha.
I see your speculation there. Your I want to find the word.
Insinuation?
Yeah, not even insinuation. Like your suspicions. That's what the word.
Yes.
Your suspicions on Vincent Kompany.
Yes.
It's very strange how much confidence they're giving him because, I mean, he's not really a manager that has proven himself at this top level.
Not enough to get a Bayern job. We
Not
were
enough.
talking about this before the podcast, and dude, it almost seems like if you just have lunch with Pep Guardiola, you'll get a managing job. Maresca has 1 year where he's the manager of, let's be clear, a Premier League side in the Championship, and he gets promoted, so he gets given the Chelsea job. That makes no sense. Arteta gets his job because obviously he was an assistant manager for City, but also he played for Arsenal. There was a connection there. You now get Vincent Kompany getting this Bayern job, which that makes no sense at all. Only because it wasn't because of what he did at Burnley. Let's be very clear there. It wasn't because of what he did at Burnley. They just got relegated. How does a manager who just got relegated go to the best team in Germany? Like, that doesn't make sense. And so, like, it only kind of makes sense because he was kind of a player coach for Pep when he was at City. Like, I just don't understand that signing. I do like the fact that they're really giving him a ton of They're giving him all the rope he needs to hang himself. If he's successful, awesome. If he fails, it's on him, because it's not like they have spent 142 million euros this transfer season, and it's not because they sold a bunch of players. They sold one guy, Malik Tillman, who went to PSV Eindhoven, but they have let him promote 3 players from Bayern B. They brought in 2 players from Eintracht Haching. They brought in Eric Dyer full-time on a free transfer. They just raided Germany, and brought in Michael Olise and João Palhinha. Big money moves there. Hikori Ito from Stuttgart. Big money move there. Fun fact, I didn't know about this, but did you know that Stuttgart is part of the Chelsea organization? The people who own Chelsea also own Stuttgart, and they're trying to do what the
Kinda like
Citigroup
the
do.
Man City,
Yep.
Girona thing.
Exactly, and that's what they're going to use Stuttgart for, as a secondary. That's why Chelsea has been so active, and why their first team right now has 44 players listed, because they're trying to figure out what 25 they're going to keep in the Premier League and who they're going to send elsewhere, primarily to Stuttgart. They have actually created a director of football operations to make sure that the mini Pep in Maresca and what he's doing at Chelsea is also going to be done at Stuttgart, to create it as a system there. So, any thoughts on Bayern Munich going out spending money? You kind of already said it. They're giving
Bayern Munich is just, to me, yeah, they have a lot of confidence in Vincent Company, but
I don't get it.
Munich are just, I mean, it's a Bundesliga.
We can't say that anymore. They lost last year. And
I know.
Leverkusen didn't lose a ton of players.
I don't know how it's looking like for Bayern, and I don't know if Vincent Company was the right move. Bayern have made a lot of questionable moves in the past few years. Questionable. And
Firing
since
Nagelsmann.
Nagelsmann was the start of it all, I think.
To be fair, their board and their ownership group, they have been in turmoil for a long time.
Yeah,
like
they
a lot
have
of infighting and
some sort of politics is going on within
yeah.
the club, and so I don't know. There's not much I can speak on. I'm not a Bayern fan, but it is very questionable decisions.
Yep.
And I don't know if giving Vincent Company this much freedom is the right move,
especially this soon into his managerial career.
Yeah.
He's not such a good manager
if
that
he had went and coached like a top side or like somebody and made some sort of moves.
Built a program at least. It doesn't even
Yeah.
have to be like a super successful program, but like just build a program. Like be at a place for 3 or 4 years and build a team that wasn't as good before you got there and is better when you left, and just like I don't
Want to say
get
it's
it.
Burnley, but yeah, Burnley.
They got relegated. He was the manager that got them relegated. It's super weird.
Also, the manager that got him promoted. To be fair,
Yeah, but like if you would have kept them in the Premier League,
yeah, like if you would,
that would have been like, oh,
imagine if he had him at least top like at 10th place or something. Then I'd be like, oh, okay.
oh, newly promoted, now mid-table team. That's huge.
yeah.
Give him Bayern. Now he doesn't like. I don't get it. Another team that I want to talk about because it's just sad what's happened to them is Girona. Got raided, lost everybody. Dovbyk gone, Alex Garcia gone, Pau Victor gone. Just a team that I was so excited to see them in La Liga next year, to see them in the Champions League. Like Savinho gone, Jan Couto gone. Like it's so many players that they weren't able to keep, that like they sent away. And it's just sad. But a team that I'm a big fan of, Roma, walk away with Artem Dovbyk. De Rossi is getting everything that he needs. I know that you didn't watch Serie A last year all that much. I implore you, watch the Serie A. It's a fun time. It's not great overall, but it's fun.
I have a problem with very defensive football, and that's.
But they're not doing that anymore. The lower half of the league totally is. They're still holding on to that Italian identity hard.
Yeah.
But like Thiago Motta at Juve is going to be fun. Inter
I want to
Milan.
watch Thiago Motta for sure.
Me
because
too. I'm very
Thiago
excited for
Motta's a
that.
very good coach, and I liked what he did with was it Bologna?
Yeah. Inter Milan, dynamic, still. AC Milan, keep getting, dude, bringing in Pavlovic, bringing in Morata, bringing in Alex Jimenez from Real Madrid. I was very excited about him. Juve going out and bringing in the guys that, Thiago Motta wants. De Rossi getting all of the things that he needs, able to bring in Dovbyk, Sule, and just a bunch of different players and promoting from within. The Serie A this year is going to be fun. And sadly, there is nothing to talk about
Watch it.
when it comes to League, unfortunately. PSG haven't made any signings.
Neves.
Yay, John Neves. Yeah, I don't care.
Yay.
Yeah, I don't care.
You don't care about PSG, guys. I'm sorry.
Not that I don't care. I want to care. They're just not making me care.
About them.
Buy somebody
In the Champions League. We'll care about them when we see them play in the Champions League because we don't really care about them in Ligue 1 because it's always the same thing. It's always the same deal.
On that note, guys, next week's episode is going to be a blast because it's going to be the last episode before the season starts, so we're making it a special one. We're going to go over our top 5 hot takes for the year, and I want you guys to get involved. So please get in the Instagram DMs, get on the Facebook page, get in the comment section below, and tell us your favorite hot takes for this upcoming year. If we see any good ones, we'll make sure to mention it on next week's podcast. My name is Tigo. That is my friend Kevin. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Guys, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button on your way out. This has been Tactical Foul, and we are out. Go home. We're probably home. Get out of here.